Oh, hello, everybody. I'm live. I'm waiting for my guest to jump on, and he's not quite here yet, but that's okay. If there's anything that I can do, I can certainly fill time. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to this Live at 5 broadcast. So nice of you to join. What a week, eh? It's been quite the week. Oh, I see my guest right here. I'll just do a little. It's John Carpay. He's going to be joining me. He's the president of the JCCF, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom. And we have a lot to talk about because it's really confusing, isn't it? There's a lot of bills, and every day we hear about a new bill. Currently, another one that's making news right now is the one that's C5, this sort of nation building bill, this sort of bill that they call one Canadian economy. You know what is funny about this is, like, as much as Carney likes to say he's anti-Trump, he's going to stand up to Trump, he seems to copy him all the time. Like, if Trump takes a jiffy marker and signs an executive order, well, lo and behold, you see Carney doing the same thing. Trump has this bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill, and this bill C5 is the One Canadian Economy Bill, or so they like to call it. But basically, there are a lot of people that are opposed to it. The funny thing is the Conservatives voted yes for this bill, but the NDP, the Bloc, and the Greens said no. And they're trying to fast track this thing before they go for summer break. And basically, this bill will give them sort of powers for infrastructure, so that whatever they want to do, they can just do this with almost carte blanche, right? Like trade barriers, major projects, they can just fast track approval. So that's also very dangerous. But my guest and I today, we're going to talk about Bill C2 and what this means for you. And sometimes these bills are so ominous sounding and so scary sounding that you don't even believe that they're true. Like, can they be true? Can it be real? But before I bring him on in, let's just recap what we know in the news so far this week. It's been quite an interesting week. Trump came to Alberta, did he not? And he came and just tore Carney a new one by saying this is the G7, but it should have been the G8 because you should have had Russia here and your previous leader kicked him out. And this would have been a G8 and you could have avoided war. And there's Carney just with his arms down, just saying nothing about it. And the next day you see him with Zelensky saying, we're going to give you more money. You have our unwavering support. I mean, it's really incredible, isn't it? His lack of sort of consideration, how tone deaf he is to what Canadians are feeling, right? Another person that is also tone deaf is David Eby. Now, David Eby is trying to pass another bill that'll give him sweeping powers, which is Bill 7. He is also tone deaf, having given a contract to build 4 new ferries to a Chinese company. Again, where's your elbows up? Where are you fighting for Canadians? You don't seem to be. Actually, I was watching a little bit of Question Period today, and I pulled this clip. This is Chrystia Freeland addressing this BC Ferries. I'm going to play this clip for you. It's just about 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with John Carpay. But watch this one first. Let me know what you think.
The Honourable Member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
Mr. Speaker, David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, has doubled down and made the plan for BC Ferries to purchase 4 new vessels from a Chinese state-owned enterprise, his own. The Minister of Transport has said they will give BC Ferries $36 million this year. Will the Minister commit today that she will personally guarantee that not one cent of this transfer will go to this Chinese shipyard? Or will she stand up against David Eby's moral failure to support Canadian jobs in steel and shipbuilding and make this transfer conditional on BC Ferries to support jobs here in this great country?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, I share the concern, the anger of other members of this House about the purchase of Chinese ferries. I have written to the province of BC to make clear that the federal government support for BC Ferries, which is explicitly for operating support, must not be used for anything other than the operation of ferries. We owe it to the people of BC to support the operation of their ferries. We also owe it to the people of Canada to support Canadian shipbuilding, Canadian steel, and Canadian...
The honourable member for Okanagan Lake West South Kelowna.
So she's just got to write a check to them with no conditions, Mr. Speaker. So during the election, they were all elbows up and talking about Team Canada in the face of unjustified American tariffs on steel and aluminum. And I thought it was bad enough that the government has been elbows down since the election on protecting Canadian jobs. But now, does the government not see that by going along to get along with David Eby, that they're not on Team Canada, but on Team China?
Yeah. The honourable member.
Whoa, it gets so fiery in question period. And he has the right to be upset. We are very upset here in BC about this. And we don't feel supported at all. And so we'll keep our eye on this story because we want to, I don't know what they're going to do. I think it just seems almost like Christopher Phelan is like, well, no, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And even though David Eby is getting all this backlash, I think he's like, oh, well, no, my hands are tied. You know, that's not what you're in government for. So it is really disappointing. And one other little bit of news, Theresa Tam announced after 8 years that she is leaving her position as the federal health officer. And all I have to say is someone like me, I used to work at Global News and I used to direct the press conferences, which is really easy. You just basically put a camera on. And she used to tell us all about what to do to keep yourself healthy. And I just want to say one thing. Please do the opposite of everything she has ever told you to do, because I don't feel that she was interested in your health. And so a lot of people are not sad to see her go. And actually, we would like consequences for all the things that she told us to do that actually at the end of the day didn't keep anyone safe. So that's my little rambling bit. I won't keep you guys any longer. I'm going to bring in my guest. So joining me for the first time, we've never met before, Mr. John Carpay. Hello.
Hey, pleased to be with you, Anita.
It was so nice to have you. It's so nice to have you. You're going to fill us all in on all these crazy bills. But before we get into that, if you go on your website, the JCCF website, there are like a list of cases. And you guys have been involved in so many things. I mean, you have had cases against Bonnie Henry for when she was closing the churches. And basically, maybe I could just talk about this with you for 1 minute, right? She closed the churches and the gyms and any programs that might keep you healthy, right? And when I worked at Global, one of the tweets I got fired right after this tweet that I sent, but I said, can somebody ask the provincial health officer why the churches and gyms are closed and the strip clubs and casinos are open? And I got raked over the coals by my bosses. But can you speak to that a little bit? It's almost like the inverse of what is going to keep you healthy.
Yeah, there was no medical or scientific basis for lockdowns. There was a very powerful propaganda machine at play. We had the government-funded media, including the one that you were fired from, that simply parroted the government's message. And the chief medical officer in Alberta, Dina Hinshaw, she claimed falsely that her lockdowns were evidence-based, and that was a complete lie. To lock down an entire society for months on end had never been tried before in history. She was doing a brand new experiment. So were the other chief medical officers. So it was not evidence-based. It was theory-based. And at the end of the day, in the Justice Centre's court actions all across Canada, there's no government has put forward compelling evidence to show that lockdown saved any lives. They go into court and they say lockdown saved lives, lockdown saved lives, lockdown saved lives. But the evidence is simply not there. It wasn't produced before the courts. So it was a dark time. And the lack of science is just as you say, if the churches and gyms are closed, but strip clubs and casinos are open, where's the science there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And for the Global News Network to punish me for saying that, it says a lot about them. So I rag on them any chance I get, because really, honestly, and if you're watching them, they just reported so badly on the pandemic. So yeah. So anyway, but moving on now. One other thing I wanted to ask you that I also was looking at on the website today. I have 2 teenage sons, and one of my sons, this was weeks ago, he was saying we were talking about land acknowledgements, because in his high school They have to do it at all the assemblies, and he's been doing this for years. Right now he's in grade 9. And he was just asking me about them. Like, he just said, Mom, it just feels so hollow. It feels so empty. Like, why do we say this? We're just saying words. But, he even said to me, when does this end? Like, it's been 400 years or something of this land acknowledgement. When can we all just be Canadians? And I actually didn't have an answer. What are your thoughts about land acknowledgement?
Land acknowledgements are hypocritical virtue signaling by people who have no intention of giving away their own house to an Aboriginal for free. They would sell their house to an Aboriginal, but they're not going to say, well, my house is on stolen land, my land is stolen land, and actually give land or houses to Aboriginals for free. Nobody's doing that. The land acknowledgements do nothing to help Aboriginals on reserves who are struggling with poverty, unemployment, high rates of suicide, high rates of drug addiction, family violence, corrupt local government. Land acknowledgements do nothing to help Aboriginals. And in many cases, they talk about the unceded territory of a certain Aboriginal group, when in fact, it's been 500 years of colonization, or 500 years of settlement, or different terms. And so the French and the British came in and they brought their agriculture and industry and technology and their police, their armies, their militaries, their courts, their laws, their language, their culture, their religion. And so when these treaties were signed, they basically recognized the reality that the British Crown was sovereign over what is today Canada and all the people that live there. And so they shouldn't be imposed on people. And the Justice Centre is actually providing lawyers to Catherine Cronas in Ontario, who at a meeting of her school parent council, to which she was elected, and she said very politely that land acknowledgements were political, controversial, and inappropriate. And a few weeks later, she got a letter from the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board telling her that she's not allowed to attend the parent council meetings to which she was elected. And so we're providing legal defense for her freedom of expression.
Oh, I mean, they'll just kick you right out. If you say something that they don't like, off you go. They're done with you. And it's terrifying, isn't it?
It is. Although on the flip side,
yeah,
if there's a dozen people against land acknowledgements, and every public meeting, one of them speaks out and maybe gets kicked out of the meeting, but then the next meeting, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, if people say, I object to this, I think it's political, it's controversial, it's divisive, it's inappropriate. If people start objecting to it, then it's going to crumble, because right now it's just this psychological coercion that people are understandably giving into. But I think it'd be great if Canadians all over Canada politely, peacefully, no violence, but politely said, I object, this is political, and it shouldn't be part of the beginning of a school classroom or a city council meeting or any other governmental meeting. In private affairs, that's fine. If a private institution wants to do it, that's their business. But if it's a public school or a school board meeting, then there's no place for those kinds of political statements to be imposed on the entire population.
That's the thing. Yeah, it is imposed upon us. And if for me, I'm not really scared to speak up and stand alone. Obviously, I can do that. But for a lot of friends, or my friends and stuff, they might feel the same way, but they are scared to speak up because you're just on your own. But, if 2, 3, 4, 5, all of a sudden you get a dozen people speaking up, then you grow stronger, right? Then it makes it a little bit easier. So I hope that things like that happen. Now, moving on, we've got this bill, C2. Now, this bill is touted, and there's so many bills, aren't there? The online harms, the this, the that, each one sounding more ominous than the next one. But this one is touted as a border bill, the Strong Borders Act. And there's a lot in this bill, but first of all, Okay, let's start with this. Under this bill, police can now open your mail without a warrant. There's a number of things in this bill, and we can go through them. But basically, they're starting off by saying this is for your national security. You know, it's always framed with good intentions. It's for border security, to protect Canadians, and a measure to keep us safe. But what is with this part in here about the mail? Police can now open your mail without a warrant. And it doesn't even mean if a package is suspicious. I mean, is this really in that bill? And
Yes.
why would they want to open your mail?
I mean, this bill, the government calls it the Strong Borders Act. I call it the Strong Surveillance Act. It takes us a third of the way to becoming a complete police state, where police just have these unlimited powers to go into any place they want, demand information, punish people for not providing information, open their mail, et cetera, et cetera. It is just, it's astounding. It's over 100 pages long. It amends the Customs Act. It amends the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. It creates a brand new piece of legislation. It's got a long name.
Yeah. It doesn't.
Protection. Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead.
It amends Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act. It amends the Proceeds of Crime, Money Laundering, and Terrorist Financing Act. And it creates a brand new bill called Supporting Authorized Access to Information Act. So this is why it's so long. It's over 100 pages. I've started going through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm not even done yet with 100 pages. But some of the highlights, or highlights, not a good word, but some of the key points are: it criminalizes the use of cash in amounts of 10,000 or more. It allows the police as well as Canada Post to open mail. It creates new powers for government officials to demand any company or corporation. It could be a hotel, a car wash, a car rental company, a restaurant, to turn over information of who's on their email list and the IP addresses of those people. It's not just big internet providers. And it gets rid of the need for a warrant, which is it's a tradition that's older than Canada. Canada is 157 years old, I guess, turning 158 on July 1st. And we have this tradition that police can fight crime by going to court and getting a search warrant. So if they think that Mark Smith is running a prostitution gang or trafficking in child pornography or whatever, they can go to court and they can swear an affidavit saying, we believe that Mark Smith is doing criminal stuff in his house, and they can get a search warrant for him. What this bill does is, in many situations, it eliminates the need for search warrants, and it gives police these broad powers to enter into homes and businesses and demand information, and citizens can be punished with fines of up to $100,000 for non-compliance. So it's just it's really scary, and it's astounding what's in there.
Yeah, but why do they umbrella this as the border bill? Like, this has nothing to do with the borders. And how do they make the leap from the border to your mailbox? And also, it says here, the bill gives authorities the right to contact any internet-based company, from Gmail to PayPal to Instagram, and request your name, address, usernames, purchase history, IP logs, and associated accounts. This is like domestic tracking. But how do they put this under the umbrella of a border? It's got nothing to do with that. Like, how do you think they're doing that?
I think they're doing it on purpose, because I've often said, and I'll keep on saying it until I die, politicians never take away your rights and freedoms without providing a nice sounding pretext. And they're going to be talking about safety, security, the national interest, the public interest, public health. That's a big one. They'll use public health to violate your charter rights and freedoms. There's always a pretext. So here, most Canadians want strong borders. I want strong borders. And there are parts of the bill that are about borders. But then in this same lengthy bill, which again, it amends a half dozen different pieces of federal legislation and creates the brand new Supporting Authorized Access to Information Act. So they're going much more broadly, and they're trying to sneak it by. Stephen Harper and his government tried the same thing about 12 years ago. It was all about protecting children from pedophiles, and that was the title of the bill, was something along those lines. But the bill itself gave police powers to get all this information about the entire population without needing a warrant. And then the minister said, you're either with us or you're with the pedophiles. And nobody bought it, and the government just retreated. But it was the same thing. They tug at the heartstrings, right? Like, who isn't against child pornography? Who doesn't want child pornographers to get caught and prosecuted and punished? So they bring in this bill to give all kinds of new powers to police, but they dress it up as we're fighting against child pornography and pedophiles.
Yeah.
And now this 12 years later, it's like, well, we want strong borders. Therefore, we're going to empower the police to open your mail.
Yeah, exactly. People want strong borders, but we want border checks. We want more staffing. I've said this in a couple other videos, but I know a couple of RCMP officers and some longshoremen, and they tell me that, that it's so easy to get anything in. If there's any place you want to commit a crime, it's Canada, because you'll just be right back out again. So when we say we want strong borders, I think that's what we mean. We want, checks and balances to be better at the borders, and we want probably immigration changes and things like that. We don't want you opening our mail and doing all these ridiculous things. And there's, you briefly brought up the cash, that I can't even believe this is real, but it's now a crime to conduct cash transactions over $10,000. So this is not like fraud or money laundering. It's just cash. Does this mean that my mom can't give my uncle $10,000 to buy his Buick? Is that what this is?
It doesn't go, it would be even worse if it was that. No, what it does is it makes it illegal to donate $10,000 cash to a charity, even if that's broken up into separate payments, right? So if somebody donated $1,000 cash to the Justice Center each month, by November, they'd be committing a crime. Also from commercial businesses, so you can't use cash 10,000 or more, say, to buy a car, for example, or professionals, you can't use cash. If you get a legal bill for more than 10,000, and many legal bills are a lot more than that, you can't use cash. And a lot of people will say, well, look, hardly anybody's using cash in that amount anyways, right? Which is true. There's not many people that are using 10,000 at once to buy a car. Problem is, once we accept that the perfectly legal use of cash to make a legal purchase or to donate money to a charity, if we accept that cash is criminal, that doing so is criminal, once it's on the books, it's very easy for the governments to say, well, now it's going to be a $5,000 limit, then a $100 limit, $500 limit, $100 limit. You can only use $100 cash, for going to a garage sale. And this is a step towards central bank digital currency, where all the money will be electronic only. Coins and bills won't matter at all. And the government will have total control over all of the money in Canada, including all of the money in your bank account, because there's no more cash. So this is frightening.
Yeah, I work in a clinic in the daytime, and we process a lot of payments. And I would say even more, 85% of the people use their phone to pay. It's Apple Pay, right? And and we accept cash, and once in a while somebody gives us cash, and it's fantastic when somebody does. But this whole thing of Apple Pay, I mean, if you're controlled by your phone to make a purchase, what's to say that they can't just switch that off for you? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, central bank digital currency means that there's no more hard copy money that citizens can buy and can use. So everything just gets relegated to an electronic statement. Your bank's got their computer saying how much money you have, and the credit card companies and the government. And then the government can take control over all the purchases. And they might say, well, you're not a good citizen because you are spending more than $100 a month on gas for your car. So you're driving your car too much. So therefore, we're not going to allow you to buy an airplane ticket because flying is a privilege. And you're a bad citizen because, we don't like what you posted on Facebook, or you're buying too much gasoline. So we'll still allow you to buy groceries, but you can't buy an airplane ticket. That's just one example. If there's no more cash, you become very helpless, very powerless, with government having total control over all of the money in the country.
But the problem is a lot of regular people don't see it like this. They just say, oh, it's so convenient. Oh, it's in my phone. You know, the convenience of it is what is taking over people. Like, there are a lot of people I know that couldn't care less if we didn't have cash, because everything is digital, 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 and they are not seeing how dangerous this is. And I don't think the media is reporting on the dangers of it. I think they just sort of market it as convenience, but you do have to ask yourself, like, convenient for who, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it should be a choice. Like I do, most of my purchases. I just took my daughter out for dinner shortly before this interview, and I paid with a credit card. And I like the convenience. However, there should be a choice there. And it's different too. If all cash is gone, now we're really at the mercy of banks, credit card companies, and governments can mess with us in ways that right now they can't, because we have that safety valve that if need be, I can move back to cash, and most places do accept cash. So the Justice Center, actually on our website, we've got a report on central bank digital currency, what it is, how it works, how it's potentially dangerous. And that's at www.jccf.ca, Justice Center Constitutional Freedoms, if anybody wants to read up on central bank digital currency.
Do you know if it's legal for a business to say, no, sorry, we don't accept cash? Some businesses sometimes have signs up like that. Isn't it not legal tender?
It is. I think it's, I'm not sure off the top of my head whether it's federal or provincial law. But I think some provinces have laws on the books to the effect that cash must be accepted. And a friend of mine, some 20, 30, 40 years ago, her father sued a business over his right to use cash. I don't know what the issue was back in the day, because most people were using cash. But
right.
Yeah, there very well may be a legal right. I'll look into that and try and get back to you. But laws are sometimes disregarded, right? So you might still have a business saying,
we don't accept cash. Like, we don't have change. Like at my workplace, I don't have change to give someone, but I can give them a credit, on file. So, okay. So what we need to tell people here today, there's quite a few people watching online, which is great. So thank you guys so much for watching. So whenever anybody hears anything about Bill C2, Stronger Border Bill, just know that within this bill is this thing that CSIS, the police can come and open your mail, that they can watch what you're doing digitally. I mean, this is just so, like, why are you picking on us, normal people? We're not really I'm a normal lady, right? I'm not doing anything other than probably talking too much online that you need to come and open my mail. Like, this is just so, I don't know. Is this close to being passed, this bill, or do we have time?
There's time, and people should contact their member of parliament, regardless of the party. So if your member of parliament happens to be Liberal, it's fine. Contact your MP and say, Bill C2 is bad news. It violates my privacy. It threatens to take away my right to use cash, etc. Vote against it. Or if you don't vote against Bill C2, then I'm not going to support you in the next election, whatever. But also, if your member of parliament happens to be Conservative or Green or Bloc or whatever, contact your MP and send an email and say, please vote against Bill C2. They need to hear the message. We see governments backing down when there's a big public outcry, and just this massive privacy violation. It takes us a third of the way, not entirely, I don't want to exaggerate, but it's a big step towards becoming a police state where citizens no longer have those personal security rights, privacy rights to say, police cannot open my mail, cannot come into my house, cannot obtain information about me unless they have a search warrant supported by a court order. Only then, if you're a suspected criminal and the police have gone to court and the judge has approved a search warrant, only in those circumstances should police be able to violate our privacy.
But I think somewhere in this bill, they're saying they don't need a search warrant. I think that's what they're trying to push for. So they can,
yeah, that's exactly the problem, especially for demanding information from electronic service providers. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, no
Electronic service provider is broadly defined. I was reading this last night, and it's anybody providing an electronic service, but an electronic service includes providing somebody with information sent by email. So every church, every charity, every business, every car wash, every hotel, anybody who sends out emails, the police, the government officials, it might not be police because they're creating a whole new set of bureaucrats for this who are designated officers designated by the Minister of Public Safety. Government officials can say that they want to see who you're emailing to, and they want to check out your computer system, and they want information. And if you don't cooperate, then as an individual, you can be subject to a $100,000 fine. And as a business, you can be subject, or as a charity, a nonprofit, a church, a mosque, a synagogue, you can be subject to a $500,000 fine. These are the fines in there for not cooperating with these non-police government officials. It's, I wish I was exaggerating, but it's in there. You can look, if you want to see the bill itself, you go to House of Commons and you get Parliament website, and then it looks at, legislation, and then you look up Bill C2. You can read the whole thing. It'll take you a long time, but you can read it for yourself. It's the government's put it out. It's online. So it's past first reading. And if there isn't a big public outcry, it's likely to just get passed in second reading, third reading, and become law.
Oh my goodness, that's the thing. And if we need the outcry has to happen. I'll actually link something in the description later of a letter that people can write to their MLAs, to MPs, to voice their concern about this, because it will quietly just sneak through, right? So anything else you'd like to say about this bill? People just keep their eyes and ears open, right?
There's a law prof at the University of Ottawa, Michael Geist, Geist. He is very thoughtful and has written a lot about the bill, and it's in pretty much in layman's language. Like, you can just read it, and it's not horribly. He's not speaking legalese, so that's a good reference source. The Globe and Mail has had some good columns about it. The National Post has written about it. So if you, it's worth reading up on. But the important thing is contact your MP. If you don't want to do a phone call, you could do an email. And if MPs don't hear opposition to this, you can be fairly certain they're just going to vote it through.
Oh boy. John Carpay, thank you so much for joining me on this live stream today and giving us the 411 on this on these bills. I hope to speak with you again soon in the future. Thank you so much.
It's an honor to be invited, and I look forward to the next time. Have a great rest of the day.
Oh, thank you. You too. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty scary, isn't it? Like, sometimes I think that these bills aren't real. Like, this isn't a thing. It's not going to happen, because they're so ludicrous. They just sound so ludicrous to be real. And there's so many of them, like the online harms and C5 and this. And one thing that I know about how sneaky things like this are is they just change the language in the law. So when something happens to you, like, all of a sudden you're injured from a certain something, and you want to stand up for your rights, like how we were all, crapped all over during COVID, and you want to stand up for yourself. Oh, well, they changed the law here. They changed the law here. You can't do this. You can't do that. The judges don't support you and things like that. It's not cool. Okay. Before I leave you, I want to talk just indulge me for a sec. There's a lot of talk going on about EVs, right? Like the government is forcing you to get into an EV car by the year 2035. Now, Come on. Like, I almost don't want to believe this. This is so ridiculous. Like, and how far do they want to go with it? Right. So if you're driving up in the winter somewhere, you're going to have an EV car. If you got to go on a long road trip, this is not suitable for a lot of people in this country to have an EV car. And not just the fact that, like, I want my gasoline car, not because purely for the fact that it is gasoline, but I was saying this before. EV cars give me a massive headache. And I'll do another video on this later, but I went on a road trip in a Tesla and I felt like I had been hit in the head with a shovel. I felt like I was getting cooked. I don't know. There's so much EMF technology or something in the car that I need like a medical exemption or something for this. But I want to question period today. Andrew Scheer was going after this Julie DeBruzen, who's the new climate change minister or whatever she is. She is cruising for a bruising, this woman. Were they lying today when they're like, oh no, you don't have to get one? Or they all were saying that. Well, why is it in the writing or whatever if they say that you don't really have to? Why are they even talking about this? But this is Andrew Scheer taking DeBruzen to task.
This Liberal government is doubling down on its insane ban on gas-powered vehicles. The latest Liberal overreach kicks in next year, and soon your favorite car, truck, and van will be illegal. But this mandate is already driving up prices. The average price of a new car is $67,000. Used cars are approaching $40,000, and this Liberal mandate will add an additional $20,000 per vehicle. They've already priced working Canadians out of the housing market. Why are they pricing working Canadians out of the ability to buy a vehicle as well?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, first let's start with the facts, which is there is no ban on gas-powered vehicles. But more to the point, let's also say, once again, we're seeing the Conservatives talking down one of our most important industries, employing hard-working auto workers in our country at the very moment that we're facing tariff threats from the United States. I find it rich that they are choosing to take this position instead of talking up a growing and important industry. We stand with our auto workers.
Leader of the Opposition.
There absolutely is a ban. It starts to come into effect next year, and it will absolutely devastate the auto sector here in Canada. The auto sector is already under fire from unjustified U.S. tariffs and the PM's inability to get a deal, but GM, Ford are all saying that this ban will kill jobs. In fact, a new report says that this ban on gas-powered vehicles will kill 90,000 auto jobs. Wow. Instead of sending even more jobs to the U.S., why not end the ban on gas-powered vehicles and let Canadians decide what kind of vehicle they want to buy?
Honestly, just let me decide what I want to have. Stop telling me what to do, right? They always do this stuff where they tell you what to inject, tell you what to have, tell you what to buy, tell you what you have to think, what you have to say. Leave me alone. Like, I'm a grown-up woman. I'll decide what I want to buy. If I want a gas car, I want a gas car. Don't stop me. And how far is this going to go? Are you going to have electric tractors? Are you going to have electric trucks and campers and things like that? And in fact, I live in BC, and this just is making me think of this guy. I'm going to forget the details, but Edson Motors, I think he tried to come up with a hybrid or some sort of electric semi-truck, and you could apply for grants, but in this province, but they didn't give him a grant to do it. It's like, you're not giving that guy a grant. And he was like really earnest, and it was a really innovative thing, and they wouldn't help him out. So how do you do that? How do you shoot someone in the foot if you're so pro-electric everything? This guy comes up with something, applies for a little bit of help, and can't get any help from the BC government. Ridiculous. Like, don't push us. Like, what if you're dealing with horses or dealing with farm equipment, or you want everything to be electric? Forget about it. And when you go on a road trip, you park the car with an EV, plug it in, you have to wait like 30 minutes. And maybe if you're happy waiting 30 minutes, then fine, then you're happy waiting. That could be okay sometimes, but sometimes you want to gas and go. Don't take away my choice. And these zealots, these guys are really ideological zealots about the climate when Canada, we don't need to operate like that. Other countries might. We don't barely burn any coal. I think we're down to like nothing in terms of coal burning. We're probably the cleanest planet or cleanest country on the planet. LNG is clean. Everything is clean here. We've got carbon in our natural stores. So we don't need to be punished. You don't need to tell me what to do, what to drive, what to buy, what to inject, or anything like that. I don't. And so everybody who's listening, if only we could get our families that are the quiet ones that don't really say anything, that kind of don't want to get in trouble. If we all stand together and push back, then we got something. But I still have a lot of people in my life that are like tiptoeing around. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want anyone to offend anyone. Forget about it. It's time to start offending people. Not offending, but you got to stand up for what's right. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thanks to my guest, John Carpay. We learned a lot about C2. Keep your eye on other bills. Thank you for all the comments and all your support. I read each and every single comment. And thanks for joining me on this live stream on a Wednesday. I'll see you next Wednesday. I don't know who my guest will be, but it'll be somebody. Take care, guys. Have a great evening. And thanks so much.